you've watched this channel at all in the past, then you most likely know that I am a huge fan of the MCU. And if you haven't watched this channel at all before, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I watch these movies a lot. I mean, I've seen Infinity War 18 flippity-dang times. And as I watch them, I can't help but notice the many little Easter eggs of the other films. But what if they're not just Easter eggs? What if these 21, soon to be 22 movies are actually all connected? Well, today I present to you the MCU Theory. Before I begin, I have to say that this video will contain spoilers for just about every MCU movie that has been released to date, including Captain Marvel. So, if you want to avoid that, now is the time to leave. If you've ever heard of the Pixar theory, or even seen my Disney theory video, then you may be able to guess where this is going. The MCU theory is the idea that every MCU movie, from Iron Man to Captain Marvel, takes place within the same universe across one timeline. I know it might seem crazy that these 21 movies could be part of the same universe, but stick with me and I think I might just be able to convince you. Our story starts in the 1940s with Captain America. Well, there's actually some scenes in Thor that would take place even further back than this, but I'll talk about those later. For now, back to the 40s. Here, we see a young Steve Rogers as he enlists in the army and is the subject of the Super Soldier Project, transforming him into Captain America. Flashing sideways, we see the Red Skull, the leader of Hydra, as he steals the Tesseract and makes weapons with it. Now, be sure to remember this object, the Tesseract, as it will be very important in connecting these movies as we go forward. Next, we have Captain Marvel, which takes place in 1995. Here we are introduced to Carol Danvers, a human who is blasted with the explosion of a lightspeed engine, which was created by, guess what? The Tesseract. Carol Danvers now has superpowers. She can fly and shoot photon blasts and such. The next few movies are Iron Man 1 and 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor. And throughout these movies, we meet Iron Man, Hulk, and Thor. Bet you never would have guessed that one. We are also introduced to some other very important characters, including Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Loki. Throughout these 4 movies, there are also a number of other little Easter eggs, including a prototype for Cap's shield in both Iron Man 1 and 2. And another one you may have missed is this guy, by the name of Philip J. Coulson, in both Iron Man and Thor. There is no way that that is just a coincidence. If you watch Thor and wait until the end of the credits, now I know you're saying, ew, the credits are like 10 to 15 minutes long and I got better stuff to do. And that may be true, but these movies will almost always contain an extra scene at the end of the credits, which is almost certainly the best evidence in tying these movies together. And also, there is a fast forward option. In this particular scene at the end of Thor, we once again see the Tesseract. Earlier, we also get the aforementioned scenes of Thor as a kid, and since he's
1,500 years old,
these scenes must take place quite some time ago. And finally, this one can be really easy to miss. At the end of The Incredible Hulk, there is a scene with General Thunderbolt Ross at a bar, and right here, if you zoom in, now, I know it might be hard to recognize him without his armor, but this is Iron Man. Iron Man is freaking in The Incredible Hulk. We then get to The Avengers, and this movie is just a treasure trove of evidence for this theory. There are so many shots of previously established characters hiding in the background of scenes of characters from other films. Like this shot of Captain America with Loki hiding in the background. Or this shot of Thor, where if you look very closely, you can see Iron Man behind him. Or even this scene with Black Widow with the Hulk very sneakily put in there. And of course, just to solidify the fact that these movies are connected, we have the Tesseract. The next 3 movies are Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, and Captain America the Winter Soldier. And these 3 are all super easy to connect because they're all just direct sequels to movies that we have already connected into this universe. But we then have Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, Connor, I can buy the fact that Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and them are all part of the same universe. But how in the heck can the Guardians of the Galaxy tie into this? And I can totally see where you're coming from. If you just watch the Guardians of the Galaxy by itself, it can seem totally disconnected from everything else. But that's where those credit scenes I mentioned earlier come in. Midway through the credits of the Avengers, we are introduced to the Mad Titan Thanos, the person behind the attack on New York. And then, who do we see again in Guardians of the Galaxy? Thanos! The second credit scene to tie in Guardians of the Galaxy comes in Thor the Dark World. Now, I know you're probably shouting at your screen. How the flip am I supposed to remember the credit scene from Thor the Dark World? I can barely even remember that that movie exists. And to that I say, why would I need you to remember it? I can just show it to you right here. In this scene, we see Lady Sif and Volstagg give the ether to the Collector. And wouldn't you know it, but the Collector plays a fairly important role in the Guardians of the Galaxy. So either the creators of these movies just really like to use the same characters, or they're connected. We can look forward to Infinity War for even more evidence of the Guardians' connection to the Avengers. Right here in this scene, we can see Iron Man. But look again, and you can see that both Star-Lord and Drax are there too. And if Guardians Volume 1 is connected to the Avengers, then Volume 2 obviously is as well. Next up, we have Avengers Age of Ultron, which is another sequel, so no need to establish its connection. And after that is Ant-Man. And admittedly, Ant-Man has some more subtle connections than some of the previous movies on this list. But they exist nonetheless. Our first connection is this easy-to-miss line by Scott.
I think our first move should be calling the Avengers.
And then later, there is a blink and you miss it Falcon appearance. Following Ant-Man, we have Captain America Civil War, which is yet another sequel. But it also cements Ant-Man's connection, as you can see him right here in the background. And in this scene, he may or may not be this pixel. If you pay really close attention, you may have also noticed that Civil War has both Black Panther and Spider-Man Easter eggs, setting us up perfectly for the next 2 movies in the timeline, Black Panther and SpiderMan Homecoming. Since we see them both in Civil War, we know they are connected, but Spider-Man Homecoming also has a number of other small connections, including, but not limited to, Captain America, Iron Man again, that scene from Civil War, Thor's name,
Thor's magic belt,
Avengers Tower, Captain America again, Iron Man again. After that, we get Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is probably the easiest movie on this whole list to connect. Look, there's Avengers Tower. Moving on. Finally, we get to Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which are all sequels, so obviously they are connected. Now, I'm sure there are going to be some of you who are still pretty skeptical about this, and to you I say, if these movies aren't connected, then explain this scene. Or how about this scene? Or even this one.
You think you're the only superhero in the world? Mr. Stark, you've become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet.
So, let's say that these 21 movies are connected. What's the point? Why does this even matter? Well, the idea of these 21 movies being connected is just freaking awesome. And at the end of the day, even if they aren't connected, then these are still some of the most amazing movies ever. And I hope you enjoyed the MCU Theory. Hey guys, thank you once again so much for watching, and I do really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe so that you don't miss any videos from me in the future. I have a number of Endgame videos planned that I'm sure you don't want to miss. But anyways, that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you next time. Oh, also, I hope you have a wonderful April Fool's Day.